haven't got a date? No one on Ryan want to come to Italy and sit on your ricotta dick? She's probably in sexual thrall to him. He's driving her wild with his sugar dick.
Nice.
So.
I need you to stop sending me the, items.
Which? The dick pics?
Oh, poor old Eleanor Rigby wants to eat dick and drink champagne for the rest of her life instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his dick. Send you a picture of his dick.
People just send each other pics of their dicks.
People send each other pics of their dicks.
Yeah, have you heard of dick pics, Dad?
Well, we do publish a number of popular newspapers, so yes, son. We probably invented the fucking words.
Okay, first, spoilers. Let's make no mistake here. This episode, episode 8 of season 3, is about dick. The term dick is used 14 separate times, 8 times by Roman, 5 times by Shiv, and once by Logan. A dick pic, sent out unadvisedly by Roman to Logan at a critical moment in a strategy session, obviously by accident, although some would say there are no accidents in this life, undoes every bit of goodwill and faith that Roman had accrued with his father. Nothing will be the same after Logan views a picture of Roman's dick. Perhaps even more than the previous birthday party episode, this installment, entitled Chiantishire, is about every aspect of human ugliness, seemingly explored in every conceivable way. Sexual harassment, sexual deviance, dysfunctional relationships, both marital and otherwise, difficult parental dynamics, catastrophic unforced errors, and angry people trying desperately to undermine one another to advantage.
Hey, put in a good word for you.
Thanks.
To be sure, it is Logan who stands out in this episode as having the most supremely ugly side. We get a glimpse of how he sees the real world when Kendall employs a throwaway line.
I think I thought I was a knight on horseback, but yeah, that isn't...
Life's not knights on horseback. It's a number on a piece of paper. It's a fight for a knife in the mud.
Logan's cynicism defines him. He tends to see his own views as somehow universally indicative of how everyone else sees and experiences the world. Fortunately, not everyone shares this dim and cynical view of existence. Logan has mastered the art of rationalization, as when Kendall accuses him of deliberately poisoning the political discourse to increase Waystar profits.
You've monetized all the fucking the American resentments of class and race.
And I thought I was just telling folks the weather.
You've turned black bile into silver dollars.
Oh, you just noticed, did you?
Everything is disposable and fungible to Logan, even the life of his young grandson. Convinced that Kendall might be trying to poison him, Logan invites Iverson to share a bite of his dinner. Later, he takes a kind of underhanded shot at Iverson and to a degree Kendall and Rava's parenting skills for producing a child who is so clearly anxious and insecure and shy.
How's the boy doing? Is he getting better?
He's fine.
Somehow this reveals everything about how he feels and how cruel and dismissive and vicious he can be. It's disguised as grandfatherly concern, but in truth it is a cruel, childish dig at what caused poor Iverson to have such an inability to cope effectively and calmly with life's many challenges in the first place. Then the dinner gets even weirder, with Logan recalling the accident which killed the young waiter from season 1. Logan employs this whenever he wants to shut Kendall down and drive him away, and this time is no different.
How long was that kid alive before he started sucking in water? And whenever you fucked up, I cleaned up your shit. And I'm a bad person?
Something about Logan as victim always falls completely flat because we know how he manipulates and then disposes of people whenever it suits him. In the end, he planned to make Kendall take the fall for the criminal mismanagement of cruises, but it is clear that Logan knew and countenanced all of it from the beginning, especially the cover-up. In personal relationships, Logan deliberately victimizes and alienates others, and arguably, as his brother Ewan often alleges, is responsible for the dangerous oversimplification of American political discourse through the wide reach and popularity of his reactionary mass media enterprises. About halfway through the episode, Caroline's aside to Shiv is revealing.
Well, you could have had dogs.
No, not with your father. He never saw anything he loved that he didn't want to kick it just to see if it would still come back.
This disturbing, weirdly specific detail, Logan's propensity for kicking dogs to see whether they'll fear him, hate him, bite him, or simply accept his abuse opens Shiv's eyes to a startling yet fundamental truth, that she and her siblings will never cease to be under review by their father. This statement by Caroline, as applicable to dogs and children as it is to others, explains as much to Shiv about her own childhood and beyond as it tells the viewer about the kind of father and person Logan Roy eventually became. In many ways, it is designed to justify Caroline to Shiv, that Caroline may not have been much of a mother as she readily admits, but at least she wasn't Logan. And that's just the tip of the iceberg as regards ugliness, as Logan shows up for Caroline's wedding with both his wife Marcia and paramour Carrie in tow. As Caroline so eloquently puts it,
The skunk, the porcupine, and the concubine. It's probably the best wedding present I'll ever get.
there is another uncomfortable moment that gives you the measure of things. At a certain point, Roman attempts to intercede to protect Logan from having to interact with Kendall. Logan doesn't mind this because it shows Kendall how much the family distrusts him. But then Roman goes too far, offering to accompany Logan to the dinner that he agrees to with Kendall, ostensibly to protect his father.
It'd be okay. Maybe you should go. Get him out of the firm. You want me to come with you?
Oh, fuck off. I'm not scared.
Logan's reaction is curious, especially because we later learn that he actually does fear being poisoned by Kendall. The thought does occur that if Logan fears Kendall murdering him, perhaps Kendall has somehow acquired some of that killer instinct which Logan felt he lacked at the end of Season 2.
Did you ever think I could do it?
You're not a killer. You have to be a killer.
When Kendall attempts to have Logan make good on his offer of $2 billion for Kendall's shares in the company, Logan answers that he was just having some fun at Kendall's expense, that he was merely kidding around.
Maybe I want you close. You can do the mail. Keep you rattling around.
Kendall sums up the situation nicely.
There's things you're able to do that I can't. Maybe.
Maybe.
There is no doubt that Logan is capable of almost anything, including hounding the sitting president out of the White House, surviving the scandal basically unscathed, and dictating the direction of political discourse in America. Truly nothing gets in his way for very long. As Logan puts it in episode 2 of this season, albeit in another context.
So when I say something, it fucking happens. We have to act on the world, the fucking world. We have to act.
If he somehow experiences everyday existence in these terms as bendable to his will, his life has surely become that of a living deity. Conversely, no one inside nor outside the family will follow Kendall, neither Tom, who has good motivation to join Kendall, nor Shiv, who's being shunted aside by Logan, nor Lukas Matsson, a friend, nor Josh Aronson, a longtime friend, recognize Kendall as being anything more than just a nice fellow, never the visionary leader he wishes he could be. Despite the ugliness of which he is capable, Logan is perceived differently by those outside the family. To a self-made man like Lukas Matsson, Logan is like a legendary Olympic athlete, for example Michael Phelps, who loses only infrequently. Logan always manages to find a way to get the deal done, by hook or by crook. Is it any wonder that Logan feels each of his children has failed to inherit his unique kind of magic in business and in life? They're all fuck-ups in one way or another. This is a fundamental truth. Logan is capable of accomplishing things that neither Kendall, nor Shiv, nor Roman, nor Connor is capable of in their wildest imaginations. Beyond Kendall not being Logan's equal in the boardroom, there is another kind of uncomfortable truth on prominent display in this episode. Difficult lessons about heterosexual love and human relations generally. Such truths tend to dominate Succession, and this episode is no exception. Connor and Willa are but one glaring example. When Connor asks for Willa's hand in marriage, it is more a parody, I guess, of romance than anything else, and Willa perceives this on some level. Willa leaves Connor hanging in the end. After cohabitating with him on the ranch for a longish period of time, she still can't decide whether she wants to be with him. Connor offers her a different life, an improved status within the Roy family, official spouse, it's true, but he is offering this to her for all the wrong reasons. It's definitely not out of love. He admits this aloud. It's because he wants to be a more durable and mainstream presidential aspirant. He uses the term bulletproof, and he definitely fails to speak much about his love for Willa. Connor remarks that Willa's ambivalence to his proposal is a little bit off-putting.
Just this much thinking could start to get unromantic.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No.
Of course, a politically motivated marriage proposal isn't all that romantic either. Earlier, we realize something's up when Connor mentions that a reporter from Politico is raising difficult questions about Willa's background. We also see this come up at the Future Freedom Summit in Virginia in episode 6.
How'd you two meet?
Online.
Even the idea of getting hitched is not actually Connor's, though he clearly loves and cares for Willa and wants her to be happy. In the end, he does not really care what the rest of the Roy family thinks of Willa. As it happens, Willa is mentally tough, and she can more than take care of herself, as she demonstrates in Season 1 when Tom is cruel to her about Connor publicly declaring that they are preparing to take the next steps in their relationship.
Is there a ceremony, or is it more of a financial arrangement?
Hey, listen. At least I'm only getting fucked by one member of this family, yeah?
The idea for the marriage tracks back to Connor's political advisor and friend, Matsson Pierce. Matsson feels that a traditional marriage will make Connor a less vulnerable candidate and might serve to wash Willa's background clean, since she was a paid escort at some past date. Of course, a middle-aged bachelor never plays too well for anyone in American politics, or really any kind of elective politics anywhere, except, of course, Pierre Elliott Trudeau in the 1968 Canadian federal election. Matsson knows that the right spouse can put you over the top, like Jackie Kennedy did during the 1960 campaign. When Connor makes a spectacle of himself with this very public proposal of marriage, it becomes clear that Willa gave up on romance some time back. Willa's reaction is far from what Connor wanted or expected. From the looks of it, she seems more horrified than elated. After so long together, she probably loves Connor in her own way, but she's aware that marriage to one of Logan Roy's sons brings with it tons of difficulties. Simply, she does not want to be the next Rava or Tom Wamskantz. She witnesses how horribly the kids all treat one another and decides that it might not be for her. The episode ends without her giving Connor an answer. Now that Greg and Comfry are together, Shiv suggests that dating such a beautiful woman so clearly out of his league now confers on Greg nearly unlimited power over meeting and dating women who are even further out of his league, presumably models, actresses, and so forth. The presumption is that Comfrey's beauty gives him instant credibility to meet anyone and do everyone. Greg's confidence skyrockets, and he competes with Roman for the attentions of a Contessa. It's fun at first, but then everything goes to Greg's head, and he starts questioning Comfrey's lack of depth, as though he is some sort of world-renowned thinker, writer, or professor of consequence. In point of fact, he very much remains Greg the Egg. Tom's response is spot on.
Is there substance? Depth? Oh my god. A man dying of thirst is suddenly a mineral water critic?
Rather than enjoy the company of a lovely woman who against the odds truly finds him charming, Greg starts to believe that he can do better than Comfrey, a truly absurd notion. There are so many complex and unusual relationships that we see on parade in this episode. Comfrey and Greg are but an appetizer. There is also Roman and Gerri. Despite requesting that he refrain from sending her pictures of his dick, Roman continues to harass poor Gerri. Roman seems jealous that Gerri is dating a man more her age named Laurie. Roman realizes that Gerri is the only woman who appears to understand his twisted sexuality. He enjoys playing with and being punished by an experienced woman, a mother figure of sorts, who instinctively tends to infantilize him. Rolling with the punch, Roman decides the best way forward is to incorporate poor Laurie into the mix.
I'm getting very pally with Lori. I might try to fuck him, see how that fits into our disgusting mess.
Do not try to fuck Laurie.
This leads to a catastrophic conclusion that everyone can see coming, all except Roman, of course. Gerri is tolerant of his behavior and warned him, but this would never work for Roman. Being told something is inappropriate only makes him want to redouble his efforts to send Gerri even more dick pics. Roman misinterprets Gerri's revulsion as a kind of game they can play together, as when Gerri stumbles into what really turns Roman on in Season 2, while he is attending the Waystar Management Training Program.
You disgusting little pig. You're pathetic. You are a revolting little worm, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm fucking serious, Roman.
I'm not so sure. I feel like you do want them, but you're being kind of typically minxy.
Arguably, the relationship between Shiv and her mother may be the most dysfunctional twosome in all of Succession. We witness mother and daughter spewing out poisonous, hurtful, unthinkably cruel barbs at one another. When Caroline mentions that her intended, Peter Munyon, has a big heart, Shiv rejoins,
Well, I suppose opposites attract.
I might have been a bit of a spotty mother, but you've been a shitty daughter, so...
You weren't a spotty mother, you were just an absence.
During this exchange, we can see how hurt Caroline has been by the children's embrace of their father and how distant they are from their mother. We also learn that Caroline regretfully gave up custody of her children so that they could keep their shares in the holding company. Being separate from her children was the price of their futures. This becomes important information in the final episode of the season. Of course, even after imparting this piece of information, the barbs continue.
You've made the right decision. Some people just aren't made to be mothers.
Oddly, this cruel remark about Shiv's fitness to become a mother causes her to want finally to have children with Tom, or at least freeze. The fact that this is what Tom wants more than anything else does not appear to ever factor into Shiv's thinking. She only wants to prove her mother wrong.
Let's have a baby.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
In this episode, we learn a little too much about their love life. In a kind of dirty talk moment, Shiv informs Tom that she feels that she is way out of his league, that he is nowhere near good enough for her.
But that's why you want me. That's why
Maybe.
you love me, even though I don't love you.
It is almost too cruel, since Tom continuously worries that Shiv never really loved him in the first place. This dirty talk is replete with what amounts to ugly truths about Shiv's actual feelings, or lack of feelings, for Tom, and the reality of how their relationship functions. This is devastating to Tom, and he needs to discuss it.
It was kind of got into the realms of that you don't love me.
Okay, well, what happens in Sex Vegas?
Despite this dodge, Tom is determined to make his point about what Shiv had said in the throes of passion, and he cleverly poses it in the form of a question.
Sometimes I think, should I maybe listen to the things you say directly in my face when we're at our most intimate?
Shiv answers honestly, in a way.
You know, Tom, I may not love you, but I do love you.
It is reminiscent of how Caroline describes Tom upon meeting him shortly before the wedding in the penultimate episode of season 1.
Gosh, look at you. You're very plausible.
Oh, thank you.
Exactly.
It is as though Shiv needs someone like Tom around to show that she is a serious person with a plausible and likable husband who is totally devoted to her welfare and happiness. Again, Shiv's treatment of Tom is determinative. Just as her dismissive treatment of Caroline ends up costing her a lot, so Shiv's shabby treatment of Tom is similarly self-destructive. But this, of course, is a spoiler yet to come. The next relationship is between Roman and Lukas Matsson, who at first seem like an odd coupling of sorts, but they do relate to one another in somewhat homoerotic terms.
I like getting into bed with people, but I also like sharing it equally.
Roman puts his own spin on this.
He thinks there's value that hasn't been priced in yet. Matsson's gunning for a merger of equals, so...
Ironically, this idea is Kendall's, which he puts in Matsson's head at the birthday party.
But it makes no sense, correct? Amtrak buys Tesla. And if anything, you should buy him.
In that same episode, Roman goes to the restroom with Matsson for the metaphorical purpose of pissing on the shitty Waystar Royco streaming app. Roman even speaks up in support of Matsson when Logan asks why Matsson is tweeting out such beguiling things.
He's not a clown. He's a motherfucker. It's what you would have done.
Somehow, Matsson seems like the dominant, and Roman the submissive in their metrosexual relationship. Perhaps humorously, Matsson asks Roman whether he wants to hold his hand for stability when Roman has trouble moving from a boat to a dock. Roman slaps his hand away, but Matsson's point is well made. Matsson is the man, and Roman at best is the callow youth who is being seduced by Matsson, metaphorically of course. After a time, it becomes obvious that Matsson's entry into Roman's life benefits Matsson much more than Roman. Matsson ultimately has no interest in what happens to Roman or any other member of the Roy family. It is unlikely that the GoJo merger with Waystar could ever be between equals.
But I think we could still be the puppy fuckers here.
The problem is that Roman and his siblings are the proverbial puppies. Lastly, there is the tumultuous relationship between Shiv and Roman. Shiv lands the first punch.
You sounded dumb at the board meeting.
Roman answers with more a parody of sexual harassment towards Shiv than anything real.
brunching with some other sock puppet girl boss presidents. Yeah, but my thinking is when I take over, I'm gonna put you in the office next to mine, and you're gonna be my sexy secretary.
The fuck is wrong with you?
Of course, it probably wouldn't be necessary to tell your sexy secretary that she's your sexy secretary, because it would already be understood. Despite this distraction probably designed to put Shiv off her game, it turns out that Roman is interested in the right things, like his concern that his mother might sell out her kid's interest in the holding company for the right price.
Or we can at least check that she's getting a prenup. You know, there's a lot of shit in there from the divorce, the holding company and everything, and the guy is clearly on the make, so yeah.
Caroline confirms as much to Shiv.
Gave him custody so you could keep your shares and I could protect your interests.
But Roman's rivalry with Shiv blinds him to the real threat to his position, that Logan has come to rely on and trust Tom in a way that he doesn't his own children. Roman is oblivious to this new reality.
Hey, Rome, about the deal? I was talking to Carl and Frank.
Yeah, no, but you're not really a part of that, either of you.
From within the Roy family, Tom is simply not feeling the love. So cutting him out of things at that moment is not a wise move by Roman. And of course, it is worth mentioning again that Shiv too echoes these sentiments during a private moment with Tom.
You love me.
Fuck you.
Even though I don't love you. But you want me anyway.
By the end of the episode, Tom feels that the one person in the whole family whose word he can trust and whom he can count on to have his back is Logan. Not anyone else, not even Shiv. As concerns Shiv and Roman, however, Shiv is praying for a break. When Roman carelessly sends the dick pic to Logan, it is manna from heaven for Shiv. It finally breaks up her younger brother's momentum and ends what amounts to his Iron Man streak for much of the season. Roman is undone by what Logan refers to as being Roman in essence, and this gets back to the previously mentioned relationship. Somehow it feels right to come back to Roman and Gerri, since their association was flying under the radar for so long. Ultimately, Roman's personality is so based on challenging others' sensibilities and indulging in instant gratification that it seems inevitable that he would implode at a critical moment. It was predictable and unforced, and he has only himself to blame. Although this is a clear case of harassment if you're an HR person, there is an odd ambiguity as well. At times, Gerri seemed bemused by Roman's need to be dominated and punished and humiliated by an older, smarter, authoritative woman. And Gerri seems to be truly concerned for Roman's mental health.
But you need to find some other outlet, Roman.
Look at you trying to get inside my head. Don't open Pandora's box. There's just more dicks in there.
Roman's line should probably have been, there's only more pictures of dicks in there, since consummation is not Roman's strong suit. He seems to prefer pictorial representations of arousal to imply something that does not and will probably never exist with Gerri, rather than actually consummating his odd relationship with her. Without a woman like Gerri around, Roman is rendered impotent. With Tabitha, for example, in the Turnhaven episode from Season 2, they're asked if they plan to have children. Her answer explains a lot.
No, we're not planning to have a baby because that would require us having sex.
Whoa, hey now.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to pry.
Kind of like you Nick the besties.
Well,
right?
you wouldn't say that.
It works for us.
In the episode prior to Turnhaven, Roman and Tabitha try to have phone sex, but to no avail, when Roman discloses that his actual fantasy is to have sex with a dead woman. Tabitha is appalled and begins to see Roman as both childish, unromantic, and insensitive to her sexual needs.
Yeah, I think maybe the morgue is closing for the night.
Okay.
Rather than build a life with Tabitha, Roman is determined to keep sending dick pics to poor Gerri and threatening to have sex with her new boyfriend, Laurie. In the end, Roman cannot stop fixating on Gerri, yet throughout most of the episode, Roman is on his game and exceeds expectations, especially Logan's, by a wide margin. His capacity to understand what Lukas Matsson is actually talking about is invaluable to Logan. Then, Roman goes on an unexpected kind of tear.
Live sports, games, betting, it's a fucking growth bomb. He just maximizes leverage. Who gives a fuck? Let him have the logo, we take the wheel. Merger's really a state of mind, right?
Logan actually appears proud of Roman for a moment, but then the dick pic arrives. Logan is not amused. All of Roman's hard-won power and credibility has vanished. He is more like the Roman character from Season 1, whom no one took particularly seriously. Logan doesn't even answer him in the end, when Roman directs a question to him.
Are you gonna come back?
Roman has destroyed himself as surely as Kendall did in the end of the first season. It is yet another unforced error by a Roy child at a critical moment. Shiv suddenly appears a lot more reasonable and less oversexed than Roman. She seems the model of restraint, whereas Roman appears as a terrible mix of ignorance, carelessness, toxic masculinity, and tragic timing. Afraid that Roman hasn't been totally discredited, Shiv seriously overplays her hand in trying to bury him.
He's weird about Gerri. There's issues, you know? Potential problem. You know, moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Logan sees where she's going with all this, how self-serving it appears, so he shuts her down. This is kind of pathetic, like watching someone stomping on an injured animal. Inevitably, it makes Shiv appear quite desperate and weak. Oddly, Logan is not particularly concerned that Roman was harassing Gerri. Instead, he's angry that he did not know this was going on and interrogates Roman. He shows no mercy to his beleaguered son. Meanwhile, Shiv opportunistically and quite detestably confronts Gerri in the guise of one woman supporting another. The worst part is that we've seen her play this game before in Season 2. At that time, Shiv was able to convince a victim named Kira not to testify against Waystar Cruises in the guise of trying to protect the woman's reputation. Shiv attempts to get to the bottom of the dick pic controversy.
So is this or something like this happened before? Did you ask him to stop? If you can't deal with your own sexual harassment, then it's not a good look. So do you want to make a formal complaint against him regarding this? You should report him to HR, because if you don't, it could be argued that you welcomed these photos.
Logan is also interested in getting to the bottom of all this, albeit for very different reasons.
Are you a sicko? What is this? Why do you send them?
Okay.
You got a problem? What interests you in Gerri, exactly? You're a laughing stock. I'll go on, fuck off.
Like all the rest of this episode, it's ugly. Logan cannot fathom what would make Roman do this, and it makes Logan question any faith he was beginning to have in Roman. From Logan's perspective, his children have all disqualified themselves as leaders. Kendall is disloyal, Roman is ridiculous, and Shiv is revealed as a lightweight. Roman was on his way to becoming someone of consequence, but Logan realizes that he does not really know his youngest son, or what motivates the kid. He cannot trust him with big decisions. This is the final straw, and it forces Logan to reevaluate his business with Lukas Matsson. Despite the beautiful setting of this episode, Tuscany, it remains an episode about ugliness and suffering and unhappiness. By the end, Tom has never felt more underappreciated or unloved. Kendall's a broken man, seemingly without any direction or purpose. Roman seems incapable of holding things together for long, and Shiv is revealed as a person so immature that she wants to become a mother primarily because her own mother does not believe that she has what it takes to be one. Her situation with Tom, toying with and abusing his emotions, is fucking inhuman. Still, on some level, this episode is like observing a car accident on the highway. It is so horrifying that it is impossible to look away. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you so much for watching.
I'm not a radical feminist, Dad, but I think perhaps we should not fire her for receiving pictures of my dick. Okay, so you want me to save the deal? Why don't you say so? Piece of cake. Save the deal, fuck Lori, lead the company into the promised land. Fuck Gerri. It's gonna be a great week.